Hi everyone, welcome back to another ranking on this channel. Jesus Christ. Do I have to? I mean, do I really have to? Because I don't want to. As you guys know, I am really disliking this franchise. I love one of these movies, adore, like two of them, and yeah, that's it. The rest of this franchise actually shit to me. I mean, I don't like any of these movies for the rest of it, and the franchise, this shouldn't even be a franchise to begin with. I mean, I think it's this one of situations like with Halloween. I mean, yeah, they did the one good movie, sucked at some movies, really made it, and it was decent, and then bam, everything goes downhill again. It's, you know what I'm trying to say here, right? Anyway, let's just get started because you guys get requesting this one, so I guess I guess I can never resist. So yeah, here we go. Coming in number 9 is Texas Chainsaw 3D. Well, I will stand by that this is the worst and the most insulting film in this franchise to date. This movie just attempted to be a direct sequel to the original film, and negating all the other sequels, and wouldn't you know it, it failed miserably at it. It tries to make the Sawyer family sympathetic while making the town that killed them in the name of justice evil bastards. You can't fucking do that. It's like making Freddy Krueger an innocent victim and the parents of Spring would be the villains. It doesn't work. Continuity takes it straight up the ass, as there are now several family members who weren't in the original film but are here somehow for some reason. The fuck? One of these people is played by the original Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen. That hurt. That fucking hurt me. But it also appears that the writers of the film didn't own a calendar and have absolutely no concept of time. The whole Sawyer family is killed except for Leatherface, his aunt Verna, and a baby who grows up to be the main protagonist of the film. We cut to present day, and this baby is now a woman in her early 20s. Even though the first film took place in the early 70s, and she should be around, I don't know, 39, 40-ish? What the fuck is this? I mean, you can make the argument that the film takes place in the early, maybe mid-90s, but all the fucking cops have fucking smartphones. This movie makes my brain hurt. It's an insult, it should not be watched. Next, coming in number 8 is Texas Chainsaw 2022. Trust me, I am really back and forth this movie and the next one, because trust me, I both despise these movies shared with the one I just discussed. Although to be fair, I really think this movie shouldn't be existing as well, because I hate this movie. The three things that made me not liking this are the two annoying leads, the two sisters, which are like, I don't know, the weirdest connection between siblings ever, the influencer culture brought into this franchise, and the return of the character Sally Hardesty. I mean, which, you know, she didn't have a place here, so yeah, why was she here? I'm sorry, but I really didn't give a rat's ass about who these new characters are and what happened to them. All the influencer stuff, what is thrown into this movie, made me want to run through the fucking Burger King with a fucking pickaxe. You have these stupid idiots go to a town to sell some estate property, and they are the most despicable people I've ever seen in this franchise. Trust me, I don't even want to talk about why, because it really makes my brain hurt. The backstory they gave Sally about what happened to her after the first film is ripped off and from Halloween 2018, and talking about it, they're just copying what they did with Halloween and Scream, and it didn't work here in this franchise. Like I just said, Halloween needed one, and Scream got one because both of them were nice. This franchise shouldn't be a franchise to begin with, like I just said. And can I just say that Mark Burnham as Leatherface just didn't do it for me? I mean, he just didn't do the job for me, and I'm sorry, but I do have to continue to talk about this piece of crap, because I really disliked it by a clear mile. Next film. Coming number 7 is Texas Chainsaw The Next Generation. Oh, god fucking damn it. Hey kids, you ever want to see Leatherface as a crossdresser? Did you ever want to see Leatherface as Renee Zellweger's little bitch? Did you ever want to see Matthew McConaughey play a redneck with a mechanical leg who never shuts the fuck up? Did you ever want to see the Sawyer family tied up to the Illuminati? Hopefully, To all of these questions, you answered, no, of course, nobody wants to see that shit. But they did it anyway. This movie was so bad, the studio immediately shelved it after one viewing. However, when McConaughey and Zellweger hit it big a couple of years later, they said, well, fuck it, we can make some money out of this, slapped both names on the posters, recut the film, and released it in theaters. And it still bombed. And McConaughey and Zellweger sued their asses. As was their right. Oh, no. I looked it up with a bad career decision desk reference. Fuck this film. Coming in number 6 is Leatherface. And I mean the Leatherface of 2017, and not the Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I mean the one of 2017, okay? Because trust me, these titles are fucking confusing. The problem with this movie is that it seems so ashamed to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. And in fact, it seems so ashamed, in fact, that if it wasn't for the beginning of the film and the very end of the film, you would have no idea that this film was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. The film is a random generic road trip horror movie that is trying to be so hard to be the devil's rejects that it forgets to have its own identity. The only thing keeping this film from being lower on the list is that the cinematography is pretty impressive at times. Even Gore, to his credit, does give a solid performance. However, much like Texas Chainsaw 3D, they tried to make him the bad guy, even though he is the only character worth feeling any sympathy for. His daughter is viciously murdered by a young Leatherface and his family at the beginning of the film, and we're supposed to hate him? Fuck you, movie! But this movie's biggest insult is that it tries to make it a mystery as to which of these psychos is on this little road trip is the real adult Leatherface, when in reality we already know who it is because the marketing team had already leaked it online months earlier. They told us already. There is no suspense here. This whole movie was one huge waste of time. Coming in number 5 is Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Yes, not the one I just mentioned, like I just said. And man, these titles are confusing. Out of all the movies on this list, this is the one by far that's most forgettable. Although the new one comes very close as well. Like with the new film, I didn't remember a single character's name. I had trouble remembering anything happening in it, and this wasn't just in general, but literally 2 hours after watching the fucking thing. The only somewhat redeemable quality of this movie is Ken Forain. When he shows up, he's entirely badass, because you know Ken Forain is a badass in general. He was cool, but sweet Jesus, the rest of these actors are terrible. 2 main leads are some of the worst actors I've ever seen in a slasher film. These 2 have no chemistry, and I didn't give a shit about any of their characters. They even made Viggo Mortensen boring. How the fuck is that even possible? You made Aragorn a member of the Scion family, and you can't even make him cool? What foul darkness made you? That is sin. That is miserable. Kiss my furry ass. Coming number 4 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I know a lot of people like this film, but this film is honestly pissing me off since the day I saw it. I will admit Carolyn Williams is good as Bill Moseley, is entertaining as hell and as chopped up. Some of the death scenes are memorable, and Dennis Hopper is pretty cool, if not completely over the top. The problem I have with this movie is its tone. You made a sequel of one of the most iconic and memorable horror movies in history, and the idea for said sequel was to make it a spoof. That is literally what this movie is, a fucking spoof. A comedy. Even the poster is a mock-up for the fucking Breakfast Club. Honestly, I've never understood Toby Hooper's reasoning for this. You can make of Leatherface in the original film looking at this film and asking the question, am I a joke to you? Because that's what it feels like. On top of that, the only character that isn't completely fucking insane in this movie is Stretch, played by Caroline Williams. And even at the end, they have her go nuts. I admit those few elements and things I mentioned are fine, but the tone of this kills me whenever I watch it. Watching it back to back with the original is damn near impossible for me. I know some see this as an underrated sequel, and to be fair, I would recommend it, if only so you can see the points I'm trying to make here. But for me, this was the beginning of the end. And I don't know how we lost control. And number 3 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Well, while the original film went for a more realistic approach, this feels obviously scripted. That being said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you want, if you want more conventional and in-your-face experience, you can watch this. If you want something more outside the box, you can watch the original. Both are fine in their own right. The cinematography is wonderful, especially since they got the guy who worked on the original to do it. The acting for the main leads is fine for the most part. The film is well directed, and Andrew Briarski is badass as Leatherface. Very different from the Leatherface of the original, but again, that's not a bad thing. The characters on the chopping block for the remake are obviously scripted and pretty much the same stock horror characters you see in the most slasher movies. They get the job done, there's just really not much special about them. The performance that does steal the show for me is Arlie Ermey as Chef Hoyt. He is funny, he is brutal, and he is damn intimidating. The movie is worth seeing only for him alone. Back in the day, I didn't really care for this movie, and what I think threw me off about it at first was that there were no moments that really stayed with me when it was over. Whereas the original kind of thrived on that. But for what it is, this remake is perfectly fine and wasn't deserving of all the hate threat I once gave it. Coming in number 2 is the prequel of the remake, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. While it took me a while to come around to the remake of the Texas Chainsaw, I've always liked this one despite its faults. I think it's very underrated and undervalued. This was a prequel to the remake, which gave us some more information about the Hewitt family and how they became the cannibals we know. In all honesty, it made me realize something about the remake I never noticed before. The whole cannibalism in the remake was completely downplayed. They didn't really call much attention to it, but here they make it very clear that these people became cannibals simply out of desperation. We found out how Hoyt became a sheriff, Leatherface disturbing oranges in a meat factory, and we cut to present day when the family encounters a new group of victims for the dinner table. The deaths are a lot bloodier in this one, and the characters, in my opinion, just have a little more to them this time around. And I really like the nods to the original film, with the dinner table scene and the heroine jumping out the window to escape. Now, it's not perfect. Some of the things they revealed, like how Hoyt lost Steve and how Uncle Morty lost his legs, I thought were completely unnecessary. Not awful or anything, just completely unnecessary. Just information we really didn't need to know. I don't think this is on par with the original, but for me, it's the only one that even comes close to it. And finally, coming in number 1, no shocker to anyone, is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. To date, it's one of my favorite horror movies ever. Not so much by of its story, but for its imagery. The imagery in this movie gave me nightmares for weeks when I was a kid. The bed of bones, the meat hook scene, the dinner table scene, the sliding door, Franklin's death. This shit was uncomfortable and scarring, but I mean it in the best way. I've heard people say that they find the movie boring nowadays, and while I disagree entirely, I can kind of see why. The movie takes a more realistic approach with everything, from its characters to its dialogue. None of it feels scripted, which is something I admire about it, but I can see where modern audiences wouldn't really get into that. If you're someone who enjoyed the remake more, I totally get why. In my opinion, that film was more tailor-made for modern audiences than any other film in this franchise. Jim Sido gives a great performance as Drayton Sawyer, which is more than I can say for his ridiculous over-the-top performance in the second movie. The fuck was that? Edwin Neal as the hitchhiker is creepy as fuck when he is on screen, and he gets one of the most satisfying deaths of the series. Toby Hooper accomplished something special with this film. He showed us that even a film with an average script can be elevated to greatness by visuals, and make no mistake, those visuals have made this horror movie classic to be reckoned with. Well guys, that's it. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys stop bursting my head off with recommending anything, because I'm not gonna do a ranking anytime soon. The only rankings I'm probably gonna do is a re-ranking of Saw, because there's a new movie, and a re-ranking of Scream, because Scream 6. That's it. For the rest, I'm not gonna do it. So shut it. Be glad I did this one. Thank you guys. Hope you guys liked it. See you next week. Tot volgende week.